Well, I'm Dawn Matheny, Executive Director of Veriditas, and I'm absolutely delighted to have a panel that is a group of us who have been on our Veriditas Higher Education Committee. Today's event is in partnership with the Labyrinth Society and World Labyrinth Day Committee. So we all warmly welcome you. And I'm going to turn it over to Irene Plunkett, who is the current chair of our Higher Education Committee and the moderator of this panel.
Thank you, Dawn. Hello, my name is Irene Plunkett, as Dawn said, and on behalf of Veriditas and the Labyrinth Society, I'd like to welcome you to our workshop on celebrating labyrinths in higher education, ways to celebrate World Labyrinth Day on college and university campuses. We know that this World Labyrinth Day 2023 may come at an inconvenient time for higher education institutions since the school year is winding down. So we've gathered a panel of labyrinth facilitators who will speak about a variety of ways to celebrate World Labyrinth Day at other times, as well as throughout the year. Our panelists will address handheld labyrinth walks, construction of temporary labyrinths, library displays, and more information about World Labyrinth Day itself, among other topics. You will see resources throughout the presentation and also again at the end. It is our hope that the variety of presentations here will encourage you in your own work with labyrinths. It is certainly our experience that there is no one way to approach this work, and we hope that you see that reflected in our presentations today. Each school, each labyrinth initiative is a bit different, and sometimes requires both initiative and creativity. Each presenter today will give information about his or her institution, how he or she is ensconced in that school, and some ideas and practices they've developed. I'd like to thank Veriditas Executive Director Dawn Matheny and the Veriditas Higher Education Initiative Committee for all their support. Lars?
Thank you, Irene. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Lars Hallett, and I'm a Veriditas part-time staff member, faculty member, and also a advanced labyrinth facilitator and labyrinth designer and builder. So I also used to be the chair of World Labyrinth Day, so I thought I'd share just a little bit about that in case this is the first time you've heard of World Labyrinth Day. It's a walk. The intention is to walk as one for peace. So the idea that people walk labyrinths all around the world with a shared intention of peace. And it's an annual event organized by the Labyrinth Society, now in collaboration with Veriditas, the Legacy Labyrinth Network, and the Australian Labyrinth Network as well. It is centered on the first Saturday in May, but it's open to participation any day, that weekend or week. So in the past, over 15,000 participants have joined in the event from over 30 countries worldwide.
Wow.
And on World Labyrinth Day, you could host a group walk, a workshop, give a talk or presentation, create or restore a labyrinth, involve art projects or online events for your community. So worldlabyrinthday.org is the website for more information about that. A lot of people ask me, how did I discover labyrinths? And the very first labyrinth I ever walked was actually one at a high school where I was a part-time photography teacher. So I used to use the labyrinth in between classes to kind of decompress. And then I started taking my students out to the labyrinth on the very first day of the semester to set our intention. And then I would also take the students out on the very last day of the semester to kind of reflect on our shared journey and think about what our next steps might be. So it's kind of funny to realize that, my very first Labyrinth walk was on a school campus, and I also began facilitating group walks on a school campus. It wasn't until last night that I also realized that the very first professional project I ever had was creating a labyrinth for Sophia University in Palo Alto, California, which is a college campus. And it was a partnership with my mentor, Robert Ferre.
Mhm.
So what was interesting about this was that the space was very irregular and there were trees. So instead of making a small traditional circular labyrinth, we decided to create a contemporary design that was unique in form. It was made with recycled rubber mulch, which was ground up from car tires. And it was also meant to be a temporary labyrinth because the school was leasing the land. And so the entire labyrinth was built on the surface of the ground so that it could easily be picked up if they changed their location. The very first permanent Chart replica that I created was also at a university, at Denison University in Ohio. And this is a process of creating a Chart replica on concrete using a crushed granite overlay that my mentor, Robert Frey, also developed. And this was his alma mater. So we traveled to Denison University and created this labyrinth. And what I love about this process is that you can also involve the students and teachers in the creation of the labyrinth. So in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see a student pulling the tape on the labyrinth, which reveals the design. And also, students, faculty, and staff can come by the labyrinth and kind of see it being created. And you can take the opportunity to give a presentation or a short talk while you're building the labyrinth. Is a great time for educating people about what it is, because they're coming out of curiosity. And what was cool is that Denison also had created its own canvas labyrinth by taping a labyrinth on the underside of a rug while they were waiting for their permanent labyrinth to be created. And I've never seen this before or since. But what a great innovative idea to tape a labyrinth on the backside of a carpet in their office of spirituality and religion. So, both of those projects kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities that, labyrinths can come in all shapes and sizes, all different materials and forms. So from a perfectly precise Chart replica on concrete to a ground up recycled mulch rubber labyrinth. Those were my first two projects with Robert. And then going and looking online and seeing examples like this by Ronald Esquivel at the University of Costa Rica. You can see his contemporary labyrinth design. And also another way of creating a labyrinth, which is probably the oldest form of building, which is just to simply put stones on the surface of the ground. At Riddle College in Essex, England, you can see these examples of simply made labyrinths by Jim Buchanan, just carving a path into, well, actually he carved the design into the grass and you would walk on the grass. And, that's a very inexpensive way to make a labyrinth. And then also he made a labyrinth just by projecting light onto the ground, for a temporary installation that doesn't even affect the surface. I was an artist in residence at a school in Hawaii and also participated as a guest in the classroom. And so I visited an art class and taught students about creativity in the labyrinth, coloring, and, the metaphor of the labyrinth as a journey. And then I also visited a geometry class and talked to them about sacred geometry and how to use a compass and straight edge to create a precise labyrinth. Again, this is another material for using labyrinths, one of my favorites for temporary labyrinths. It's a flagging ribbon and landscape staples. And you can involve students again in the process of creating the labyrinth as well as walking it. And pretty neat to see that after the landscape staples and ribbon were removed, you could still follow the pathway of the labyrinth for a short time. We created this canvas labyrinth with the students. This is their service learning group. And so they painted their own canvas to use for the long term. And these are just more ideas. You know, it's really infinite what you can do to create labyrinths. You can use tape, chalk, or even things like cornmeal. In 2 weeks, I'll be creating a labyrinth at Reed College using cornmeal on their grounds. Finally, this is at Wellesley College in Massachusetts, where we created stickers for the students to create awareness about the labyrinth on campus. They could put the stickers on their laptops and also trace them with their finger. This is a labyrinth that we created in the botanical gardens using wood rounds cut from trees that had naturally fallen on campus. And it was kind of a labyrinth that, again, was meant to kind of decompose and settle into the ground. But that planted the seed for a permanent labyrinth at Wellesley. But these are not new bricks. These are bricks that were just sitting in a pile at the grounds facilities management. And they were bricks that were excess from a building that had been created 150 years ago. So we used these old leftover bricks to create a new labyrinth on the site. A little bit more of inspiration from Norway, where you can see at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, Ann Anker Bolsted created a labyrinth out of scarves for Valentine's Day, and also one with Post-it notes that students could write, you know, their intentions and what things meant to them. So I just wanted to share, you know, many ideas and examples of the variety of materials, designs, and settings that you can use to create either a temporary labyrinth or a long-term permanent one.
Thank you, Lars. Patty?
Hello, my name is Patty Kohler, and my session is about reviving a tired labyrinth. I'm a professor at the University of Central Arkansas in Conway, which is a public institution. We are a small 3-college town, and our little city contains only 2 university campuses, the only 2 university campuses in our entire state. I'm in my 19th year as a college faculty member, and my field is actually special education. This semester, I'm on sabbatical, and part of the work includes reviving our tired UCA forgotten labyrinth. In 2003, the EDGE Residential College, under the direction of a few faculty members, wanted to create a public space for students to congregate outside of the college. So benches were placed in front and space was provided in back where the labyrinth now sits. EDGE stands for Educating for Diversity and Global Engagement. These faculty members wanted to include a labyrinth in the space because of its universal symbolism as an archetype and because some of the students were international students. The labyrinth was featured in the UCA Focus, in local and state news, and a fence was placed behind the dorm and in front of the labyrinth to set the space apart. A few events were held on the labyrinth, and it was used by many. And you see in these pictures, some of the builders, students, faculty, and our physical plant all came together to build that labyrinth. So that's the first part of the story. Fast forward 10 years, and the labyrinth has become mostly forgotten. And I have no idea why. Somehow I missed the fact that UCA even had a labyrinth, although it is situated a mere few minutes from my office. A couple of years ago, a colleague and friend, when she learned of my interest in labyrinth, asked if I had walked hours, and I shared that I was unaware of its existence. I tried to locate it on a campus map and searched the website for mention of it, There was no signage pointing the way, and it took me weeks to actually find it. As a labyrinth facilitator and a curious researcher, I started digging, and this began with several questions. And what I would like to do is just share some of my questions with you, and perhaps a variation of some of these might help if you have a tired, forgotten labyrinth. So my first question, whose name was associated with that edge labyrinth? So I went to the Worldwide Labyrinth Locator site and found a name. I called her, and she provided me with lots of other names and a few pieces of contact information. She and I met, and I started filling in the gaps of my limited knowledge. Everything that you've already seen, I learned just in the last few weeks. So my second question, who built it? I contacted Physical Plant and learned that the director of our physical plant was actually the ground supervisor in 2013, and he was the one who assembled the labyrinth kit. He also provided me with pictures of the construction and shared the whole process with me. That was a whole new aspect of labyrinth understanding when he told me about polymers and sand and all these digging tools. So that filled in some gaps. The third question I asked was, who can help with signage and getting this labyrinth on the map, on our campus map? As it turned out, these were one and the same individual. After he and I visited, the labyrinth immediately went on our campus map digitally. And now we're still working on signage, although we've identified a place for the signs to be erected. I am happy to say that as of Friday, I actually have a sign design, so I expect that the sign will go up soon. Question 4, who can get this labyrinth on our UCA website? So I was directed to the communications director, and he invited me to send pictures in a narrative. I'm working on that part right now. The Friday before our spring break, 5 individuals representing different aspects of this labyrinth came together, and another friend of mine filmed their personal stories about the labyrinth, and he's going to put those together in a short documentary that will be on the website. So 5, this is question 5. It's probably the biggest and most challenging question to me. How can I get our students and faculty engaged? Well, I developed a short survey and have shared a QR code everywhere where I encountered students. I have about 200 responses, and most of the undergraduates I've come in contact with are unfamiliar with the labyrinth on our campus. I've asked colleagues anywhere and everywhere to allow me to be a guest speaker in courses about social emotional learning, mindfulness, health professions, philosophy, and religion club, anyone who will let me come. Most have said yes. I volunteered to share the labyrinth in our recent Out of the Darkness Suicide Prevention Walk. I'm submitting a proposal for a Phoenix Rising Crystals Yoga and Esoteric Arts celebration that will be held in a local expo center. Don't know how that's going to work, but I'm going. Physical Plant has agreed to clean up the area surrounding our labyrinth, and I have a study day chalk labyrinth planned outside our library to help students de-stress before finals. I also drew a chalk labyrinth outside the College of Education building during World Labyrinth Day in 2021. So this fall, we partnered with Veriditas to provide student labyrinth guide training through Zoom. Everyone received a handheld labyrinth for their personal use that we made with Maker's Mark, which is across town. 2 of the students are featured in our little documentary that we're developing. A colleague and I are also conducting research and student engagement with the labyrinth, and I am amazed at the opportunities that present themselves when I share my belief in the power of the labyrinth. So all of this to say, I believe our tired and neglected and forgotten labyrinth is starting to wake up. So the last question, what have I learned? Well, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is start somewhere, anywhere, follow the thread. Then the next one, show up, enlist others, take one step, then another, and keep going. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Patty. Twyla.
Yes. Thank you. Well, it's exciting to actually follow Patty because I'm located in the same town that she is. And in fact, we walked a labyrinth together just yesterday. First of all, I'm Twyla Alexander, and I'm going to be talking about connecting labyrinths and libraries and librarians. My involvement with the Labyrinth is as a community member, and that's at Hendricks College in Conway, Arkansas, or at UCA and Hendricks. We're just maybe 15 minutes apart. And here is the Labyrinth on the Hendricks campus. It was actually built in 2007 as a result of a senior student's Odyssey project. And Hendricks itself is a small private liberal arts college that has an enrollment of about 1,200 students. I feel particularly connected to it because all three of our children graduated from Hendricks, and I live about just a 10-minute walk from this labyrinth. So it's the next best thing to having a labyrinth in your own backyard. And sometimes I even feel like it is my personal labyrinth because I walk it so much, but then I do realize that I am sharing it with the whole community of Conway and the campus community as well. I began making connections with the Hendricks staff about 5 years ago. I contacted the chaplain first and asked if she would be interested in partnering with me in providing a walk for World Labyrinth Day. She was very enthusiastic about that, and we worked together for 3 years prior to COVID, and held this World Labyrinth Day walk or event. That first year after I contacted her, I also contacted Britt Murphy, who is the head librarian at the library there at Hendricks, and asked her if she and her librarians would meet with me and brainstorm ideas of possibly having an event there at the library prior to World Labyrinth Day to invite campus people, community people to find out about the labyrinth and invite them to walk with us on the first Saturday in May. And so she agreed to having a meeting. And just to give you a little context here, you'll see a picture of Bailey Library on the Hendricks campus. And this is a picture of Britt Murphy on the left and two of her just amazing librarians. As you walk in the door at the Hendricks Library, prior to World Labyrinth Day and about a week after, you will see an interactive display, which the librarians created. Now, I provided them with some materials from Veriditas, such as handouts about what is a labyrinth, how do you walk it, and another one about how to draw a 7-circuit labyrinth. But the rest of this is totally their creative ideas. As you'll see, they made a labyrinth out of little rocks and shells in sand that students can take a pencil and, kind of, or the finger, and they can go through. There's one in the back with a string of beads with instructions on how to create a labyrinth. There's one on the right that is an ink block or wood block that you can rub with ink and then transfer it to paper, and then the student can, take their own labyrinth with them. And you'll see a poster in the back about announcing the labyrinth presentation in the library. And I'll get back to that in just a minute. But the next slide, Lars, if you could show that for us. This is a display that they created. You go into the library, you see that main display, and then to the right on a counter, they have put a selection of books that they carry in the library about labyrinths. So you'll see a couple of Lauren Artras's books, and my book is there. And then I contributed a couple of books that had a lot of photos about labyrinths. And in the back, you'll notice there's a big blown up poster of the state of Arkansas. And in certain locations, you'll see a shark labyrinth that's been placed on there. And then there's a key to the right that highlights where those labyrinths are located. Again, all of this librarian generated. And to the left, there you can put some clay together and create a mold for a labyrinth. Again, all of their wonderful ideas. Now, if we go back to the presentation, yeah, there's the poster. I think it's called Learning About Labyrinths with Twyla Alexander. And so we had an hour set aside. They put out the information on their website, and this poster was put up all over campus. I presented information about labyrinths. We had a wonderful cross section of students, community members, and it just so happened that a member of the board of trustees of the Hendricks College was walking through the student union and saw one of the posters and decided to come over to the library and listen to the presentation. And he came up to me afterwards and said, I had no idea that Hendricks had a labyrinth. I did not know what a labyrinth was. And so that really helped me even realize how much education and ongoing education we need to do for people in the, in the college and university community. And then after the presentation, we had some questions and answers, but the literal icing on the cake was, and there you go. One of the librarians baked a cake, iced it, and then created this wonderful design of a labyrinth on top of it. And that was the centerpiece of this beautiful display of this, plus punch, napkins, paper plates. And so people were welcomed into that space. There was a lot of mingling, a lot of talk about labyrinths. And again, it was from the enthusiasm that was generated by the librarians themselves. So my bottom line to you is librarians are our friends, and contact them and make connections and relationships with them, because they can get out information and be that kind of hub of a place that labyrinths can be highlighted. So if any of the librarians are listening from Hendricks, because I invited them, we are in your debt, and all librarians out there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Twyla. Julia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julia Van Fleet, and I'm currently a graduate student at Lesley University, which is located in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I am pursuing my master's degree in mindfulness studies. I graduated from Eckerd College in 2020, where I was first exposed to the labyrinth in a higher education environment. This is a picture of the labyrinth that was at my college, Eckerd College, and it's located in St. Petersburg, Florida. Upon arrival at college in 2016, my mother and I walked the labyrinth as a ritual to open this space for the next 4 years. The labyrinth was used as a place for me to ground myself and relieve some of my stress caused by my busy day at school. I found it as a place for refuge and centering for myself. In 2020, the year of my graduation, we were evacuated off of campus due to the COVID-19 pandemic and returned in May to retrieve the rest of my belongings. I would never have fathomed that an ordinary school day would be my only closure to my lifelong educational journey. My mother and I walked the labyrinth as a closing ritual to mark this time, knowing that I would not have a formal graduation. Upon moving home from college, I began to use handheld labyrinths as a form of meditation. Handheld labyrinths, which are also known as finger labyrinths, are similar to a full-size labyrinth that you would walk, but on a smaller scale, which allows it to be more portable. In order to use it, you trace the path to the center with your finger or with a stylus, rather than walking it with your feet. As we can see in this picture, it's used with the finger walking it. They come in different shapes and forms, so you're able to pick what may work best for you as well as your students. That labyrinth is made out of wood. These ones are as well. We have a wood one and acrylic, and these ones are available for purchase on the Veriditas website. And another inexpensive option to offer to students are finger labyrinth travel cards. And these are also handmade labyrinths that are made from yarn, print, paint. And so you could also write your way through the labyrinth as a meditation. And we have ceramic, 3D printed, and spherical. And I also worked with children making their own labyrinths from clay, which I think in itself is a very mindful practice. And another form is digital labyrinths that can be downloaded on tablets, such as the Labyrinth Journeys app. I really like using this when maybe I'm not carrying around my own handheld labyrinth, and I can just use my iPad to trace it. So those are just a few examples of handheld ones. And I also have my own. And here's a stylus that you can use to trace it. And then here's one more example. This one's really small. And as you can see from the pictures, they also come in bigger sizes. And handheld labyrinths also enable people with mobility issues to participate in the labyrinth experience. They're very accessible to everyone. When walking the handheld labyrinth, it is a good opportunity to exercise the side of your brain that is not being used daily by using your non-dominant hand while walking. You can also listen to centering music and focus on your breathing to experience a deeper meditation. My mother and I attended virtual handheld labyrinth walks with Veriditas and practiced walking when we weren't able to go to public labyrinths in person. It was a way to spend time in a community, sharing space and being there for each other during this strange and difficult time. I have continued my work with the labyrinth throughout these past few years, most recently just having completed an internship with Veriditas last fall. I also completed my facilitator training during this time. Part of my work during this internship was to share the labyrinth with students and young adults. I did this by participating in pilot student guide trainings with Veriditas, sharing mindfulness techniques such as walking meditation with the students, as well as leading them in handheld labyrinth walks. The students seemed very excited to be introduced to this practice and said that they felt more clear-headed and calm after the walk. They were able to focus on the present moment instead of on their stress and responsibilities that they may have at school. Handheld walks are a perfect way to connect with others around the world, especially leading up to World Labyrinth Day. We are all able to practice walking together, even if we are in different locations. Handheld labyrinths also serve the purpose of being a more accessible way to walk the labyrinth, which means that they can be used at any time or place. For students, this can be very helpful due to their busy schedules. They might not be able to carve out time to physically go to a labyrinth to walk, and they might not have a way of transportation to get there. I was lucky at my school, I had one within walking distance, and also where I live now in Naples, Florida. Handheld labyrinths can be available to students at any time to use, even if it is a short 5-minute study break or a daily meditation and mindfulness practice. So when I just feel like my schoolwork is just getting very stressful and I just need a little space, I will just take out my handheld labyrinth and do a short walk and come out feeling centered and ready to get on with my work for the day. And Handheld labyrinths are a wonderful resource for students to take time out of their day to engage in a mindfulness practice, finding their way to their center. And if you are interested in seeing what a handheld labyrinth walk is like, Veriditas offers online labyrinth walks on Fridays, which you can find links to on their website. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Melissa.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Wow, this has already been an amazing session. Thanks for all the good ideas. My name is Melissa Powers. I'm a professor at the University of Central Oklahoma in Edmond, Oklahoma. That's UCO, not UCA, if you were trying to keep those separate. We're a public metropolitan university serving approximately 13,000 students. I serve as our campus labyrinth coordinator, which, to be honest, is an unofficial and largely self-appointed position. I'm pleased to be here today to tell you a little bit about UCO and our labyrinth initiatives, and then I'm going to share some strategies I've learned over the years, some of which you've already heard today, for planning a World Labyrinth Day or other labyrinth event. And finally, I'll briefly overview our plans for World Labyrinth Day at UCO this year. First, a little bit about UCO. Labyrinths were introduced at UCO over 20 years ago by Dr. Diane Rudebach. So we have a long history with labyrinths. When I came to UCO in 2007, we already had several canvas and handheld labyrinths that were well used on campus. We built our first permanent labyrinth in 2013. It's an outdoor 11-circuit Chartres design. We added, and you can see a picture of it there. It is outside near our chapel. We added our second permanent labyrinth just last year. It's a 7-circuit classical labyrinth painted on the floor of our teaching gymnasium. And I'm super excited about this labyrinth because I teach in this space. And so I have a labyrinth in my classroom now. I love that. Over the years, our labyrinth initiatives have grown. In 2018, we hosted on our campus a Veriditas Facilitator training. And now we have 6 trained facilitators associated with UCO. And I believe at least one is on this webinar today. Hi, Christy. Labyrinths are used in many ways on our campus. We have labyrinths embedded in course curriculum. We host walks, usually focused on self-care and stress management for our students. A new initiative this semester is something we're calling Mindful Movement Mondays. And I was able to collaborate with my colleague, Ed Cunliffe, who is a student of Tai Chi and an instructor. We meet at the Labyrinth on Mondays. Actually, he's about to head over there right now for Tai Chi today. One week we walk the Labyrinth, and the next week we do Tai Chi on the Labyrinth. We have people on our campus who conduct research on the Labyrinth. We hold special events. We host trainings. We have also created an endowment fund for our labyrinth. So we have a lot going on our campus around the labyrinth. And I say all this to set the stage for you about our World Labyrinth Day events. UCO has strong support for our labyrinth efforts. We have a strong group of people who support the labyrinth, and labyrinths are really a part of our campus culture at this point. And I know that's not the case at all universities, and it may not be for you. So what works for us may not be what's best for you. In light of the fact that we all come from different places with different resources and are at different points in our campus labyrinth journeys, I offer you some tips for planning your World Labyrinth Day event and encourage you to take what strikes you from these and adapt them to your campus. This would be a good time for me to say that none of these are my original ideas. Nearly everything we do at UCO around the labyrinth has been adapted from someone else or taken from somewhere else. So here are a few tips that I would suggest for you. First, keep a list of ideas. This can be something you write down or it's simply in your head. Whenever I attend a labyrinth event, a training, a gathering, I always try to connect what I'm hearing from other people to UCO. How could we use this at UCO? I also do this when I attend campus activities. I'm always thinking, how could the labyrinth be part of what they're doing at the Central Pantry or the Wellness Center or the Sustainability Initiative? So I encourage you to take something from today. You've heard lots and lots of ideas, and see how you can use it on your campus. Build connections. So try to find the other people on your campus who are using the Labyrinth. Don't do this alone, unless you are truly alone and you're just the start, right? Find collaborators. Ask them to support and assist you. And connect with others who are doing like work, maybe not the Labyrinth, but are something you could connect to the Labyrinth, like the Counseling Center, the Office of Student Engagement, the library. There are lots of people on campus who are doing things that you could connect to the Labyrinth. Use your campus resources. College campuses are full of resources to help you. In our college, we have a public relations coordinator, and she does all my advertisements, all the flyers, all the invitations, our website, and everything we do for the Labyrinth and for World Labyrinth Day. For you, this might be your facility staff. It might be a grants office, a professional photographer, or many, many others. But find those people that can help you. Be consistent and persistent. And wow, Patty modeled this well for us earlier. Always keep the Labyrinth in the news and in front of your campus. So I make sure when we have a Labyrinth walk or a Labyrinth event, it's advertised in the daily campus newsletter. It's on the master calendar. Everyone gets an email at minimum. Schedule regular events at whatever frequency works for you and your campus. For years, we held monthly Labyrinth walks because that's what worked on our campus. This semester, because I partnered with my colleague, we're able to do weekly. So if this is your first event for World Labyrinth Day, then that's great. Schedule another one next semester and another one the next semester after that. And then lastly, I would suggest that you try to find balance. I can't say this enough. You have to find balance between what you can do and what's good for your campus. So I don't know about you, but I'm an overachiever and I have a tendency to commit to more than I can do because I get excited about it and I want to do it, right? But you have to find that balance. So find what works for both you and your campus. It might be one walk or one event. It might be two. It might be many if you have a good team to work with you, like we have at UCO. I think balance also applies to the types of activities you do. So it might be a walk, but it might also, your campus may need some education. So it could be a workshop or even a newsletter article that you submit that goes out to your campus. So find what works for you and your campus as you think about World Labyrinth Day. For several years, World Labyrinth Day was always on our graduation day. We would host a Labyrinth walk at 1 p.m. on World Labyrinth Day. A few people would show up, but not very many because it was a busy day on campus and people were elsewhere. It just really wasn't a good time for us. But imagine my excitement when last year our campus announced that we were starting the spring semester 1 week later. So this year, World Labyrinth Day is the Saturday before graduation for us. And we're planning a week of activities leading up to a community Labyrinth walk on Saturday. This will be the last week of the semester for us, the week before finals week. I was hoping to have our flyer ready for you today, but some of our dates and times are not finalized yet. If you'd like a copy of the flyer, feel free to email me and I'm glad to share that with you once it's ready. This is a list of the events we're planning right now for the week leading up to World Labyrinth Day. We're going to try to have something each day, ending with that walk on Saturday. I'm partnering with some people who on campus who have expressed interest in integrating the Labyrinth. That's the Central Pantry, our sustainability initiative, our Healthy Campus initiative, and of course, my colleague, Ed Cunliffe, around Mindful Movement Mondays. So to conclude, I encourage you to do something for World Labyrinth Day, but find that something that works for you and for your campus. Take ideas from today and from other sources and adapt them to your campus. Start small and build slowly, but do take that first step on the path. And use the resources that you learned today. World Labyrinth Day is a great time to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Our final presenter today, Frank Fain from Rollins College in Florida.
I am, just by way of introduction, I am the project manager for the Rollins Labyrinth project and at Rollins College. Rollins College is a liberal arts college in Central Florida with a variety of undergraduate and some graduate programs. It started out as a much more prestigious, more upper middle class college years and years ago, and it's developed into a very multidisciplinary, multifaceted, with a very, very diverse population from all over the United States and all over the world. I am also the vice president for outreach and education for the Labyrinth Society, and am co-chair of World Labyrinth Day. I know Ellen Munch is here from our committee, and so is Carmel Stabley, our VP for community. One of the hallmarks of the Rollins Labyrinth project, especially as it relates to World Labyrinth Day, is we believe that we are a transformative path to belonging, that a lot of our work is focused on inclusion, equity, and diversity of diverse population and groups within the Rollins campus community. In keeping with that, the goals of the Rollins Labyrinth project are promoting labyrinth walking with intention to help all persons embrace and embody the Rollins mission of becoming responsible global citizens. We provide a variety of events, resources, and workshops aimed at reaching the spectrum of diverse groups who comprise the Rollins College community to visibly demonstrate how labyrinth walking can be a vital force for global transformation and healing. One quick example here to demonstrate both of those things. Just recently, we did a labyrinth walk for racial healing for Martin Luther King Day. There was a young woman who was of mixed American and I believe West Indian descent, and she walked the labyrinth. She has and she was able to, through her labyrinth experience, begin to come to terms with some of her racial identity issues and how to take those racial identity issues and feel much more a part of the larger Rollins community. It was an absolutely amazing experience to watch that happen as she walked the labyrinth with the intention to allow the labyrinth energy to speak to her. And as the community gathered around her, gave her the space to do that. And that's one of the examples that shows how the Rollins Labyrinth Project is a transformative path for a lot of our diverse groups on campus, and an inclusive path. We seek to accomplish our goals by embodying what we call the 3 Bs, and I'll say more about that, to ensure the labyrinth offers a safe, welcoming space for all purpose. You can see the peace pole in that particular picture, and you can see the sign there that we have at the very entrance to our labyrinth. We are also part of the global network of legacy labyrinths, where we are the second college labyrinth to be a part of that network. And one of our main focuses is on providing the labyrinth experience to the diverse community to empower global healing and transformation. Next slide, please. The first B in the way we do it is we believe the labyrinth allows all persons to be themselves. One of the core principles of the Rollins Labyrinth Project is offering a safe and welcoming space where all persons, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, culture, sexual orientation, or physical attributes, may experience the healing and transforming power of labyrinth walking. One of the fascinating things that we have done over the last year and a half is a lot of our labyrinth walks are themed around universal themes: grief, dealing with the COVID-19 crisis a few years ago, dealing with kindness. We're doing a walk later this term on suicide awareness. We've done one for sexual violence. And one of the things that we often do is we highlight how these various issues impact the different diverse communities on our campus. And through the use of very carefully crafted rituals and inclusive language, we make no assumptions about how folks will respond to the labyrinth experience. We make the labyrinth experience through inclusive language, through rituals that draw upon, occasionally we'll draw on drumming, we'll draw on African rituals, we'll draw on rituals for our Hispanic population, we'll draw on themes and sounds for our Jewish population. We seek to make our walks as open and globally inclusive as we can, because as this quote says, our life's journey is really about the people who touch us. And my work as a facilitator has been so enriched by the various groups of people who have walked the labyrinth with us. Next slide, please. And I basically alluded to this in the first slide. The labyrinth experience fosters a sense of belonging. We do this through mindful attention, cultural awareness, and sensitivity to the language, experience, and yearnings of the persons who attend our walks. Now, many of us, when we lead, often when I lead walks, people sometimes think this is sometimes associated with a particular faith group. This is associated with a particular religious tradition, because that's how some people have begun, initially were introduced to it, if they were introduced to them. But what we do is we pay attention to, are we dealing with a group of African American students? Are we dealing with Muslims? Are we dealing with our Jewish students? Are we dealing with people, our international students? Are we dealing with some of our students who may be differently able? So in each case, we design the labyrinth experience to fit the group we're working with. And if it's a mixed group, we make no assumptions in our language or our format that privileges one group over another. We talk about the labyrinth's sacred energy. And the sacred energy is available to all. Our last point about our 3 Bs is, and I love this quote, it's a Native American saying, "Someone made a circle to keep me out, so I made a bigger one to include us all." And this particular slide talks about the 3rd B in the 3 Bs that we do a lot of at Rollins. The Rollins invites us to beloved community. At the Rollins Labyrinth Project, we work toward cultivating beloved community as we share the labyrinth experience. We believe the sacred energy of the labyrinth will guide us here as we allow it to encircle and embrace us all who come to walk its path. In other words, we put out the welcome mat in all the ways we know how to do that. Sensitivity to language, sensitivity to culture, sensitivity to the time. For example, we would never schedule a labyrinth walk with our Jewish students late Friday afternoon or Saturday, we would honor their Shabbat. If we were working with our Muslim students, we would be sensitive to their prayer hours. If we're working with our African American students, we would be sensitive to the language and cultural traditions that they would bring to us. And this is often a very stretching and a very challenging process, because as a white middle class person, I have to familiarize myself with where they're coming from. So, and I think that that is part of it. And there's no easy cookie cutter recipe for doing this to diverse populations. But I think if we keep in mind that the Labyrinth offers these 3 B's, we will be in good shape to work with and attract diverse populations to the Labyrinth experience on our campuses. One shameless plug before I go is, please go to the worldlabyrinthday.org site for lots of handouts, lots of information on World Labyrinth Day.
Thank you, Frank. Good to see you. Now I'd like to hand this discussion back to Lars, who's going to do 2 things: present a few more resources as he sees fit, and he will also help facilitate some Q&A after that. Lars?
Well, thank you, Irene, and everyone who shared. As just really a wealth of information and insights and experience from all of you. I just wanted to share a few highlights. Veriditas has a web page dedicated to our higher education initiative. It is veriditas.org/higher-ed, and it includes also the webinar recordings. This is our 5th webinar offered in support of Labyrinths in higher education. So you can view the other 4 webinar recordings there. Also, you can see different links and information, including the Labyrinth Society research page is a great place to visit if you are interested in current or past research and dissertations and articles written about labyrinths. Also, Dr. Jan Sellers has created an international index of permanent and landscaped labyrinths in universities and colleges. And this is really a brilliant, comprehensive list that would be a wealth of information if you are looking for more ideas or inspiration, or if you're planning to create a labyrinth on your campus, and you wanted to see if there were other similar universities or contexts, such as, has anyone built a labyrinth inside a library? You might go on and search and find that indeed there is an example of a labyrinth inside a library. She also was an editor with Bernard Moss of a really wonderful book called Learning with the Labyrinth, Creating Reflective Space in Higher Education. And this is a compendium of also examples and stories, case studies from different universities and colleges around the world. It was published in 2016 and is available from Bloomsbury Academic. So the name of the publisher has changed, but the book remains available. And I believe you can download the introductory chapter for free to get a taste of the content. Also, as Frank mentioned, the World Labyrinth Day website, worldlabyrinthday.org, for more information about that. And if you are interested in creating temporary labyrinths, I also created a webinar on quick and easy methods for creating a temporary labyrinth, pop-up labyrinth. So that's a World Labyrinth Day webinar from the past. So let's see. And then just to summarize, I guess, ways to celebrate World Labyrinth Day, just as there's many different ways and designs and settings. You could facilitate a group walk, you could host a workshop, lecture, reading, or talk. create a temporary labyrinth, dedicate or restore a permanent labyrinth, find ways to integrate labyrinths into curriculum, create a labyrinth display, including books, maybe hand out stickers of labyrinths or create a map of local labyrinths, purchase handheld labyrinths for loan or to give away, or learn how to draw a labyrinth, and find or share your local labyrinth event or join one online.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and participants for your lively participation and feedback. As we kind of wrap things up, there's another theme that's come up in our discussions, and I just want to put it out there, not to be a downer, but a lot of our awareness has been in us with COVID and post-COVID, and we're really aware, obviously, of the extent to which that has influenced the world, US culture. And I'm also really impressed by the way in which young people have been affected by that, particularly students. And Julia, thank you for highlighting that in your comments, your stunning comments as well, you know, really clear comments around that. So I just am also mindful that as people move forward, and we hope we've shown you there's not one path forward, there are many paths, and a little here, a little there. This day might be one thing, next day, and in your same institution, year by year, it might feel different, as you know, given different leaders, different circumstances. But we in our discussion have been aware of the fact that post-COVID, or eventually post-COVID, there is this thread around healing as well. And I would add that part of that is a sense of trying to integrate experience, all college students in particular, and all human beings, I think, try to integrate our experiences as a way of moving forward too. So not to highlight this as any particular topic that people need to take on. I think it's just something I want to mention that in our discussions has been kind of a low level, you know, one strand of the braid that people have been weaving as they go forward. And honestly, I think sometimes it doesn't, maybe it's better not to mention it. It's just that those of us as facilitators and people who are in charge of ritual and days and events just might kind of hold that awareness as well.
Thank you so much. I think this higher education committee that we have at Veriditas is an excellent example of what happens when we can gather folks who all have a particular body of work in common and what we can do when we gather together. So thank you to the panelists, and we'll close it down now.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.